It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
You have one guy who's talking about like picking stocks, going out there and finding that. His show's even called Mad Money. And then you have the wise sage Warren Buffett. It seems like they would be diametrically opposing forces when it comes to how you look at investing, right?
So let's find out where the common ground is. So the common ground between what do Jim Cramer and Warren Buffett have in common? Let me start off with Warren Buffett and just a few quotes he's given. Because this is quotable stuff you can go pull from his letter to shareholders. It's the bottom line. When trillions of dollars are managed by Wall Streeters charging high fees, it will usually be the managers who reap outsized profits, not the clients. Both large and small investors should stick with low-cost index funds. Wait a minute.
Hold on. A guy who built his whole career picking individual stocks said you should stick to index funds. Got it.
And then, and here's the part. I want to go a little deeper because this is also Warren Buffett. If a statue is ever erected to honor the person who has done the most for American investors, the hands-down choice should be Jack Bogle. For decades, Jack has urged investors to invest in ultra-low-cost index funds. In his crusade, he has amassed only a tiny percentage of the wealth that has typically flowed to managers who promise their investors large rewards while delivering them nothing. Or, as in our bet, less than nothing or added value. In his early years, Jack was frequently mocked by the investment management industry. Today, however, he has the satisfaction of knowing that he's helped millions of investors realize far better returns on their savings than they otherwise would have earned. He is a hero to them and to me. And over the years, I've often been asked for investment advice. And in the process of answering, I've learned a good deal about human behavior. My regular recommendation, this sounds very similar to us, by the way, my regular recommendation has been a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. To their credit, my friends who possess only modest means have usually followed my suggestion.
So two things that really stuck out to me. Warren Buffett referred to Jack Bogle as a hero. That's pretty high praise coming from someone who's done quite a lot in terms of financial and wealth building. And the other thing, again, is he said, my general recommendation for most people isn't to go find the next Bank of America, go find the next Berkshire, go find the next GE. It's just go buy the index. Go buy the S&P 500.
Take out the emotional stuff. Just be part of the success, the walk towards innovation that mankind's doing. And of course, Jack Bogle is the founder of Vanguard.
Sure.
That's why I have done some shows being somewhat critical of Vanguard is that they've kind of now, because Jack Bogle's passed away. What I find ironic is that after Jack Bogle has passed away, now he'd handed over the reins a number of years ago. Now Vanguard is moving more into active management. Now it's lower cost than the typical active manager, but it's still, it just makes me scratch my head a little bit. If you've had so much success in this one thing, why would you move into other areas that are outside of your original vision?
So Warren had this thought on just buy the S&P, just buy an index fund. Surely Jim Cramer, the stock picker,
he has a show on stock picking.
Has to be a different thought process than that, right?
So here's some quotes from Jim Cramer. I'm cognizant that the market is hard. You've got time burdens, you've got demands. At the same time, he acknowledged that investors can easily become bewildered trying to pick individual stocks. And he quotes, "That's why I've emphasized that I'm not just okay with index funds, but I insist you use them." Man, this does not sound like a slow sell on this thing. He goes, "The Great Recession has changed how investors look at stocks," Cramer asserted. "It changed me. It changed the show," he said. As a result, his Mad Money manifesto has undergone a sort of metamorphosis. I would, quote, I would not own a single stock until I put away at least $10,000 into an index fund, either through your IRA or your 401k, he said.
So it sounds like what he's saying is, it sounds a lot like a money guy order of operations. Build financial independence or financial foundation early on, doing it I'm going to say the easy way, which is index investing, before you even try to graduate into something like picking individual stocks.
And he put the $10,000 in there. I didn't know if that was career risk that had him put that $10,000, because I'm thinking you put $10,000 in, all of a sudden now we're going to switch to individual stock picking because we all magically, just because we crossed 10,000, we're better at it.
Right.
Like I said, I think Jim put that in there as a little bit of career protection.
Well, I think you said it in pre-show. You said it perfectly. You said what's going to happen is when someone starts investing and very on, they have $10,000 in the index fund, and they see how good it's going. They're not going to want to go pick individual stocks there. They're going to realize how easy it is to do it that way.
So this does tell me, I have a neighbor well, he's moved away now, but my neighbor, every year he calls me up and he's constantly playing the individual stocks. And he asked me, the first time he found out what I did, what stock should I go buy? Expecting me, because he does some random ones. And I was like, the S&P 500. And he called me last year after 2019 had the year that it made 30%. And he goes, you know what? I thought I did good last year. And then I looked at the S&P. It beat me by like 5%. And I was like, yeah, you need to quit goofing off, quit being so smart, buy the index fund, quit outsmarting yourself. So that leads to, here's the big question that I want to spend some time on. Why are index investing, why is it so successful? Because there are some key elements. This is not pixie dust. This is not magical. There's actually something under the hood, behind the curtain, that is creating this success.
Sure.
So let's go a deeper dive and try to figure this out. The first thing, and Warren Buffett kind of alluded to this, they are dirt cheap to straight up close to free if they're not free.
I think what's amazing is we talked about what the numbers were for people using indexes in 2000 and 2013, and then even now in 2020. And you would think from a supply and demand perspective, if more people are demanding it, it would cause prices to rise, right? We've actually seen the exact opposite happen inside the index universe. It's actually gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper through time.
Well, there's a price war going on. And you, the individual investor, are the straight up beneficiary of this price war. You got Vanguard Investments. You've got Fidelity Investments. You got Charles Schwab. They are all literally beating each other, just beating each other to a pulp, to the point that you're seeing mega mergers now where like TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, they're all kind of merging up because now that online trading is free, there's not a lot of profit there. Right. Well, before we got into free online trading, there was another price war that was going on because, like I said, the internal operating expenses when I started managing money were over 1.5%. Do you know what the average is among the entire mutual fund universe now?
It's certainly less than 1.5%.
It's 0.48%. Okay. So you're thinking, wow, that's great. We're at a third of the price we were when Brian started managing money in the 90s. But no, that's not necessarily even great. Yes, that's a good improvement that we've cut fees down by a third, but index funds have gone from where they were. I mean, I remember when the Vanguard S&P 500 fund was considered cheap when you could get it for less than 30 basis points or less than 0.3%. Now when you buy like index funds, and Fidelity has some of the lowest prices right now, they're even beating Vanguard to a degree. Fidelity's 0.01.
That's right.
And if you look at their zero funds, they're zero.
Free.
They
they're
literally
zero.
are free. So I thought about that because a lot of times when we hear internal operating expenses, now this has nothing to do with the advisor who's helping you manage money, or if you're doing it yourself. Internal operating expenses exist, and they exist for the purpose of trading costs, sending out prospectuses, all the legal stuff, compliance, and everything that's going on behind the scene. Every investment company has an internal operating expense.
But the hard thing is we don't actually see it on our statements. It's not like you have an expense number that flies out the door that says, oh, I'm paying 0.48%, and you see that go out. It's actually embedded inside the fund. So if you're not paying attention to it, it can kind of sneak up on you. So you do need to know what the internal expenses of the fund you're using are.
I want it because when you hear percentages like, okay, the internal operating expense for the average mutual fund is now 0.48%. Versus index funds can be like 0.01.
Sure.
What is that? I know that's 48 times cheaper, but what does that really mean in dollar terms? So I gave you some examples. Let's talk about managing $1,000, $100,000, and even $1 million, and just do the simple math so you can actually put some numbers to this. What we found out is that if you're looking at the average mutual fund is 0.48% right now. So to manage $1,000, it would cost you $4.8 a year, so almost $5 a year. If you're doing $100,000, it's going to cost you $480, and if you're managing $1 million, it's going to cost you $4,800 a year.
Okay.
None of that sounds crazy, but when you lay it next to what an index fund does, you're like, wow, that's a big difference. Because remember, $1,000 with a managed fund was $4.80. With a $1,000 index fund like at a Fidelity where it's 0.01%, it's 10 cents. It's a dime. It's a dime compared to $4.80. On $100,000, $480 for the managed fund, $10 for the index fund. For $1 million, it's $4,800 or 0.48%. For the index fund, it's a $100 bill.
So you can see very easily if expenses and fees are something that you can control right out of the gate before you start looking at performance or outperforming or underperforming. If you have a fund that only costs 0.01 and the average is 0.48, you're already $4,700 ahead of the game just by controlling the expenses in your funds.
So that definitely helps. So index funds are dirt cheap. And like I said, this price war is going on. There's even a brand new ground with Fidelity actually has 0 funds. That's what they market them under. There's no internals. There's no commissions, no minimums. It's kind of crazy awesome world that we live in right now to be an investor.